Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Sales Uncharted. Now, I have a promise to my B2B sellers. I will always try to bring to you something very different from the normal techniques that we have in sales. I typically don't talk about objection handling, I don't talk about win rates, I don't talk about deal reviews. What I talk about is mindset, attitude, and learning from other people that are busy building businesses, learning from those businesses, and selling. Sales is a noble profession, and there's someone I met along this journey and I actually asked Ivan Kovpak to join me. He has some thoughts on how we do ICP definition and how we go about defining GTM strategy. And as I worked with him and as I spoke with him, I actually realized that he has a message, and I really wanted to bring him on this conversation. And we're going to talk about and Ivan, when you and I were talking about how are we going to create a topic out of this, and my take was saying, you know what, come to and let's just talk about what is happening in the buying landscape, how things are shifting, what is going on, right? Talk about your thought process of what problem were you solving when you created Unstuck Engine. But before we start, sir, do me a favor and tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you came about thinking about creating Unstuck Engine. And then we will have a series of questions to make sure my B2B sellers get your guidance and your advice on how you're proceeding with figuring out the GTM engine environment, as well as how to be better at identifying your ICP.
Actually, if we start from quick introduction, I'm founder of Unstuck Engine, and I have multiple exits behind me. And I started three times from scratch. Last
Yes.
two times because of war. I immigrated to United States from Ukraine nearly 4 years ago, and actually, very recently, I prepared a handbook for our team, and I'm going to make. And actually, this handbook is public on our website, like
Yeah.
for everyone to use. And I found very interesting approach. How it happens that I'm started Unstuck Engine, and everything like came together when I found that our guiding principle at Unstuck Engine, and it works really well for all businesses before, is that over educate, not oversell. And this is a way how I came to that, and I work from first principles. I did sales actually in every possible field. B2C, yes.
B2C, yes. Yeah.
Travel, yes. B2B, yes. B2B2C as well, yes. I achieved once $1 million in daily sales. So, like, I know all sales inside and out. You already know my story when I was 16 years old and I did play in a TV trivia show. And to my mind came an idea to sell sponsorship. And imagine, like, from today perspective, sending 1,000 faxes and getting three meetings and one deal is
Yeah.
actually first view of outbound. Like now we are living in fifth version of outbound, but I did try that one with fax machine.
So let's talk about this, because one of the things that I remember, reading in some of your LinkedIn posts also, Evan, is that you've always said that most companies don't have a lead problem; they actually have a fit problem.
Mhm.
And what I wanted to understand from you that you're always complaining about the fact that a lot of GTM teams are drowning with bad leads. Now here we are wrapping up 2025, and you yourself just said that you've had 5 eras of GTM 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. Why are we still struggling in 2025 with bad leads and a fit problem? What are you seeing that makes you wonder out loud, and why Unstuck Engine?
Actually, I think same problem as usual because we still oversell, not over educate. And we are here to educate people starting from first principles, because today is very possible to have a really great go to market with high return on investment, and with much higher than any time before. Because, like, one of my teachers, I studied from Philip Kotler in Northwestern University in Kellogg School of Business 20 years ago. He is a father of modern marketing.
Yep.
Yeah. And in his books, he told this metaphor that marketers, or maybe this is not him, maybe this is a Gilvey. Yeah, probably this is a Gilvey who said, in marketing, we always spend 50% of our budget wrong, but we never know which 50%.
Which 50%? Yeah.
Yeah, right. And right now we are in a situation when we actually can avoid this situation in B2B. It's much more complex in B2C, I may say, because in B2C, the quality of data about potential customers and user much lower, and average deal size is also much lower. But in B2B, we can do that, and I simply don't have an answer why companies today, why they still do spray and pray when they can really define who is in their total available market. Then they can prioritize those people by score, by ICP score, like account score, by persona score at least. And
No,
then, yeah.
no. And then complete your sentence. Go
And
ahead. Go ahead.
then by engagement score. Because when you have these three scores, like ICP for account, is this good company to sell? B, persona, is this good person to be in communication with? And actually multiple companies stand only for one persona, like for buyer persona, for decision maker, but they completely forget about four other important roles, like product champion, those people who don't have a budget to spend but who feel the pain by
and
themselves.
and 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 have a voice at the table that makes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But I have a question for you. You talking about scores, right? Let's just
Uh-huh.
step back a second. I've got a B2B seller listening in, and he's trying to think here. Okay, all I want to know is I want to know what are the behavior signals that can predict buyer readiness. And Ivan, you're talking about scores. Can you reconcile what the scores around persona or so on? How do you tie them back with behavior signals? What behavior signals are we looking for that can predict buyer readiness? And how do scores help with that discussion? How would you answer that question, Ivan?
Actually, ICP score is about companies with whom you need to work or not at all. Like if company doesn't
Okay.
fit your ICP, you don't need to work with them. But if company fit ICP and their score is 0, it means they have kind of lowest priority for them. If 100, they are highest priority for you. And in that case, if we translate this into GTM tactics, for companies with 0 ICP score, you can use cheapest things like cold outreach, for example, right? Uh,
Right.
but for companies with 100 score, you can implement one-on-one. Of course, it depends on your average
The
contract value.
structure and yeah, the
Yeah,
value. Yeah,
yeah.
understood. Yes.
But with this assumption, you have kind of high average contract value. You can implement one-on-one ABM campaigns for those highest value accounts. Same situation about scores for personas because and types of personas, because sometimes you need to engage with whole buying committee, and we, as I told you, we have decision makers, we have product
Yeah.
champions, but
Product
also we
champions.
have
Yeah.
blockers like finance and legal and security. Those companies, those people, they can stop your deal as well, and those people who have influenced those deals.
So
And yeah,
if I follow the train of thought through, right, I have a question for you.
yeah,
So Ivan, one of the biggest things that's happening in the GTM world is you have all these plethora of tools like Zoom Info, Apollo, right? And of
mhm,
course, my personal favorite, LinkedIn Navigator, right? And when
yeah,
you look at all of them, they all have a certain stylistic way of functioning, right? And you can make it more complex by integrating this automation, this workflow, or, this signal that comes from somewhere else. But we still end up prospecting to the wrong people. What is this missing layer that you feel Unstuck Engine is really focused on? That is this missing layer that you bring in that says, I'm going to add more value to than what you traditionally do from a Zoom in for Apollo Navigator. How would you position yourself for those listeners on this podcast who can relate to Zoom Info, Apollo Navigator, but now need to understand where Unstuck Engine fits in? How would you answer that question or give them that perspective?
If I make a step back, I can say that all those platforms, Apollo, ZoomInfo, SalesNav, their primary function is being a database of potential leads, and they works with that really well. And they're very different, even from that perspective, have very different capabilities in that sense.
Yeah.
But what's missing there is that you cannot make those specific investment decisions that I did give you example just like 1 minute ago, that you just receive. Even like you can make a list of people there, but they will be not your ICP, because normally ICP is much more just than just firmographics and demographics. For some companies, like you need to focus on companies who have average contract value like $20,000. You cannot define
Yes.
these things there. But with Unstack Engine, you can define everything related to go to market, because go to market product specific tools, like specific products your customers selling. I can give you example. One thing is to focus all designers, and another separately focus on UI designers or manufacturing designers. Because and this is very very different ICPs. Can you distill those from those tools? Like my answer is not, because they don't have these additional, let's say, AI filters. But this is just one point. Second point, those systems, they don't have scoring models. And even they, like in Apollo and Zoom Info, they're trying to implement, but they have just one across all your people in your system. So you can implement only one. In our case, for each ICP, you can separate scoring, because for each your ICP, you have different values for different parameters. And
So is your ICP at company level then? You're looking at the company's purchasing power or purchasing style, and the individual is part of the equation, but the individual is not the focus. It's the ecosystem. Am I understanding that
actually,
correctly, Ivan?
for this, we created three different scores. One for ICP is for account itself.
Yes.
Another for personas, for people within those accounts, and score them as well.
Purchasing, product, and so on,
Yeah,
so on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And third one is engagement scores. This one, like when you ask it me about readiness, right? You
Yes.
ask it like how to understand what is readiness. But I really want to answer your question from a little bit different perspective. As I told you before, I learned it from Philip Kotler, and one of the things that he brings to this world is
Mhm.
customer journey map,
Yes.
CJM. Yeah. So like customer journey is very very different steps, and many companies, they very much focus it only on one part of this pipeline, on people
Yeah.
who are ready. But if you have signals that make sense for different steps of this, you can start from people who have zero signals but within your ICP, and then you can work with them, and many companies do that. I see that they trying to understand who of those people really have problems they're solving, because like first fit is a problem fit, second fit is a solution fit. If this person have a problem you are solving right now, if this
Yeah.
person don't have a problem, you need to cut off this person, you need to cut off this company for the time being from the budget. And with that engagement scores, like, or engagement stages, you see where in this customer journey this customer right now, this potential customer right now.
So now if I dig deep into that one for just 1 second, Ivan, right? So I am a outbound team that is now reaching out to customers out there, and I'm hearing you say that the old philosophy of outbound based on a specific individual actually is just part of the equation. You need to look at the score for the entire company, individual characteristics, and maybe the behavior of what's going on over there. When you do that scoring, though, how much of this is actually traceable or trackable in a system? How do you gather all this information? Is it multiple points and source of data? Is it subjectivity, or is there some objectivity involved? How exactly does unstuck engine go about building up? Because in my mind, to build up that much information about a customer, you need to have tons of data. Is
Mhm.
that true, Ivan? Do we require a lot of data, or is this where you bring in your magic of filling in the blanks?
Actually, to fit this data about ICP and persona, we do this with AI because this data mostly static, right? If you
Static,
sell
yeah.
if you sell mostly to companies who have average contract value $10,000 plus, even after 5 years, it will be the same. Companies normally do not change very very much their business strategy. So it's more or less static. Change is possible, but it's more or less static. Where we have dynamic is those engagement stages, because this is what happened with
Yeah,
leads. Some people are cold, then they're warm, then they're hot, and then again they're warm,
they're
and
warm.
then cold, and this go like up and down. And to track those, we need to add into this conversation very important definition of signal types.
Signal types, yeah.
Signal types, yes. And we can have first party signals, second party signals, and third party signals. And when we have second and third party signals, even it's better if multiple, even it's better when we can aggregate them for a person, and we do that, and for account as well, like because multiple people within company may have those activities, and it's important to aggregate them too.
But I have a question for Ivan. So
Yeah.
I understand mathematically the soundness of what you're saying, but every person or every component doesn't have the same weightage. How
Uh-huh.
do you then ensure that your scores that are coming from these unique buckets are coming in the right ratios? How do you manage that?
We understand that building proper customized engagement scoring model for each customer, it's next to impossible because it
Ah,
requires a lot of data. Like I believe that customized engagement model for each specific customer will work better for that specific customer than our weighted model, where we have common weights for everyone. But our model works much better than anything else, and you can understand that it works like from first principles, because we define 5 engagement stages.
yeah,
Cold, when we have just zero signals or only zero intent
right.
signals. Uh,
Yeah.
then cool, when we have just one second or third party.
You did say cool, right? Cool. So you
Cool,
have the cold, and we're going to cool. So that's your scale that you're using.
yeah,
Okay.
it's warmer because it's just 1 second or third party intent signal.
Yep.
Then in market, when we have multiple second or third party intent signals, when somebody or some company multiple times engaged or with your competitors, with keywords in your market, with anything that shows that those people research the problem you are solving. So people who have problem fit. Then we have warm, when we register just one first party signal. And then we have hot, when we register multiple first party intent signals. And first party intent signals, they are website visits, they are
Website visits. Yeah.
view of your demo, like because sometimes your demo you can send this by email, but this is first party signal. When somebody replied to you, this is
This is another signal. Yeah.
another first party signal, right? Also, when somebody sign it into your deal room, digital sales room,
Yeah.
and saw some documents. So imagine you can combine all your first party signals together. This gives you much better picture of
Of
the fact
the
who is
yeah.
ready to pay, right?
So, Ivan, now mathematically, I'm getting the gist of it, right? What I'm trying to also make sure is that so there are three or four buckets that we use to get this weighted number, right? And weighting, as you said, is subjective, but I also believe that there's some maths behind that that you would allow to figure things out. I'm now looking at Unstuck engine and I'm asking myself, but who is Unstuck best designed for? What type of a GTM or what type of a domain would Unstuck engine be? And give me a classic scenario of where Unstuck engine can solve a problem and it's designed for this type of problem for this type of customer. Could you give a little bit of that information to me?
Yeah, we have four ICPs for ourselves. And first ICP, those who use Clay and N8N. Those who prefer do things like we name them do-it-yourself package. For those who we supply just our scores, they can use their infrastructure to feed us their
Yeah.
data and get data from us. So like we just put this specific component for them. Second ACP, companies who do inbound marketing and inbound sales, who work only with inbound. For them,
And an inbound classic definition would be someone comes to your website, registers to download a white paper. That's an inbound. Is that how I would look at it?
actually, you are right. Register it, sign it up for a meeting, but through
Like a demo, sign up for a demo.
inbound, yeah, through inbound capabilities. Like you did make somewhere content marketing or SEO or advertising, and those people came to you and they interested, they book your demo. So for those companies, we able to route
Yeah.
people depending on their score and ACP to right person within their that company, or even like to route, help them to route to absolutely automated way. Like if this is a low value customer,
Then
go to
do,
self-serve.
yeah.
If you are like middle value, go to regular manager. If you are enterprise value, like go to there. Or it also can work like by 100 different
But
specific criterias.
But how do you define these criteria? Because to me, that sounds like you have to do a lot of work with the customer while setting up the Unstuck engine or the core premise. So, is there a structured hand holding that you do in terms of how you put together an ICP definition for the customer prior to feeding it into the engine?
It's very interesting right now, because now you can sign up to Unstack Engine and get your initial ICP. I can say this is like ICP sketch and persona
Okay.
sketch within 1 minute from sign up, because
Okay.
we analyze your website and we create the
And
sketch immediately, and like then you need to polish it and to add 20% more of details that you know that AI cannot know about who is your
about who
ICP
is,
persona.
yeah.
Yeah. So from that sense, it like now it works really well, really easy for people, and I just invite you to try because we have free trial. It's like everyone can at least have their ICP sketch to have for free.
So I have a question for you. You spoke about the five eras of GTM or so on.
Mhm.
Here's it's bothering me a bit now. The last 2 years for me, Ivan, have been mind-bogglingly complex. Even though AI is making things simpler, right? It's just that the sheer onslaught of AI and the type of tools that all now argue that they're all AI at the core. So, question to you is as follows: how are we looking at the usage of AI and the blending thereof, bringing in data enrichment, and how is this going to change things? And what becomes obsolete because of that? There has to be something that'll break now with AI coming through and actually taking over so much of this work that's going on in terms of definition.
Can you formulate a little bit differently your question?
Sure.
Because really I want to answer it properly.
So I'll make it very simple. How will AI and
Uh-huh.
data enrichment reshape outbound in the next 12 months because of the way that things are developing? And what is going to become obsolete? And how does unstuck engine then come in to make sure that your revenue engine remains unstuck?
Mhm. Let's say what I see. If we speak at a marketing at GTM at a whole,
Whole, yeah,
yeah, we can say that we can divide whole GTM into three parts: targeting, messaging, and channels. And all those three, you can, when you find right answer for all those three, you find your product market fit. And you need to run experiments to
uh-huh,
find your ICP, to find your messaging, and to find your right channels for you. But you cannot start to work on messaging and channels before you found targeting, because there is no sense to optimize messaging for wrong audience.
or wrong audience, correct. And I
Yeah,
think that's a trap. That's a big trap that a lot fall into. I've seen that occurring to a lot of people. Absolutely.
yeah. Then, answering your question, if we speak about targeting, I may say that we have there three components or three steps.
Mhm.
And some companies just miss
All the steps, I
all,
guess.
all
Yeah,
of them. So first component, you need to have different data sets, because you don't have kind of best quality data from everywhere like this,
on
in
tap.
the
Yeah,
moment. Yeah, because sometimes I can tell you just one very good example. One of our most successful campaigns, our own, what happened when we got data from Slack community.
Slack. Okay.
Specific, like all users from specific Slack community, and all the other data sets was or much smaller or much lower quality of data. I mean, like, it was much better than Apollo, SalesNav, or ZoomInfo. It's like it was 10 times better, So first you need to have different data sets. You need to understand those data sets. And second, need to identify your TAM. And this, like, very important step, because from all those data sets, you need to distill your ICP. And third step, when you distill those ICP, you need to divide those ICPs, personas,
Into
engagements into audiences. And those, for each audience, you need to run specific GTM motion, specific set of campaigns, not just one campaign in one channel. No, sometimes it can be like this:
be like, yeah.
one channel and one campaign, but for some of them, not. And this is how I see B2B GTM should work next year. Even possible like this year, but I think next year it's a right year to do things that way, because when you have scientific, like, we live in a wonderful time. It's the first time when B2B GTM can be scientific from start to end, and
So
you can
I need
achieve.
to, but I need to challenge you on that. Let me challenge you as follows. Science is there, but sometimes you can use science to still get the wrong outcome because
Yeah.
people don't know whether it's right or wrong. So one of the problems I have with AI is that I always get an answer from AI. Now the question is, how good is the answer? Right. And that then becomes a human judgment thing. Now, if human judgment was so powerful, then I wouldn't need AI, right? The whole point we need AI is to actually help us be better judge of. So if I would ask a simple question, what should a revenue team do, let's say as they close December, in understanding which leads have actually converted? What type of metrics, what type of investigation would you support and ask for people to actually say? So people tell me, Deepak, I do outreach to 100 people and I get 8 people converting from that. So they argue it's an 8% conversion rate, right? How do I know that's right, good, bad, or ugly, Ivan? How do people now then tell me with a straight face that 8% is a good number? Is that just because of looking at data and just looking at a baseline? And if the number is just above that and close to it, therefore we know we're always right. I get the feeling that that's not the right way to look at an ICP definition in terms of how many times a person converted, because your 100 people that you're reaching out to, by definition, half of it could be people you should never have reached out to. So you should have reached out to maybe 50. And then from 50 people, you convert eight. That is nearly 16% return compared to the eight you had earlier. So what is happening there? And how do these signals become very important? It's something I wanted to understand from Unstuck Engine. Do you still so let me give you an example, Ivan. Let me help you here, because this is such a complex subject, right?
Mhm.
I speak to 100 customers based on my ICP definition, and I convert eight. In your model, Ivan, would you still speak to 100, or would you speak to only 50? Would you speak to only 70? Or you're actually speaking to the equivalent of 200 because you have improved the ratio and outcomes? How does your model work and differentiate based on, and how should people look at your model as a way to understand how to go about looking at GTM investigations going forward?
I think I cannot touch this in full in this conversation, but
Hmm.
what we do in Unstuck Engine, we have progressive GTM investment model. So if I follow your example,
Uh-huh.
this
Yeah.
means that in my like if I did work before for 100 people, I don't know if those 100 people
Mm,
all in my
yeah,
ICP. So
correct.
first step in that progressive model to identify who is in my TAM, who is in my total available market, how many companies, how many people in my total
Yes.
available market. And this can be 50 people, and it will be true, or this can be 200 people, or
Or,
2000, or
or
20,
yeah,
like
yeah, it's yeah.
then the most important point, we can segment those people, those companies by ICP score and by persona types, persona score, and by engagement stage. And with that approach, you will probably, you will like, if I try to simplify my answer, probably you will reach out to more people at the end, but in very different way and with
Because
very different messaging, because you will divide those people and companies into groups.
so let me ask you a question. Today, in with AI, what I'm seeing is that people take a badly defined GTM or an ICP,
Mhm.
and they simply tell me that, hey, Deepak, it doesn't really matter whether it's eight people out of 100, because with automation and with Clay and with Apollo and all these things, I can actually now go, and instead of previously I used to churn data for maybe 200 to figure out what my, I can churn data for 2000. I can send emails. I can run an entire email infrastructure to actually reach out to these individuals by name. So I can get the same result that potentially an Unstuck engine can give me just by scaling my outbound engine. And my suspicion is that, Ivan, if I look at your methodology and your strategy, you're actually saying efficiency doesn't come from more. Efficiency comes from doing the same quantum of work, but making sure that the definition is so accurate that your outcome is sharper than what it was before. So for those people who tell me that I don't need to invest in Unstuck Engine, all I need to do is keep doing what I'm doing, but now instead of sending it to 100 people to get that eight conversion, I
Mhm.
send it to 1,000. So don't look at it from a percentage conversion point of view. Just look at it from a count point of view. So 1,000 now gives me 20. Therefore, I have increased by two and a half times. That sounds weird to me, because that sounds to me like a way that you're saying that, that you called it pray and spray, right? Spray and pray earlier, as you said. Now, Ivan, if I were to challenge you and ask you, Ivan, do you foresee a better and efficient use of resources and time and money with Unstuck Engine compared to how things are happening today?
I saw many cases when people use it Unstuck Engine and got two times, three times better return on investment comparing to their regular go to market. It depends because like I have scientific background and I'm
There.
following that way all the time. I'm not here for hype, like to say outbound is die. It's not my way of saying things.
Exactly, because that's what people start off by saying. Cold
Yeah,
email is dead. That's a very common thing on LinkedIn. Yes.
yeah, but like this is just hype. If we go in to deep dive, our question, like our first question, do we have a real ICP? How we define that ICP? And is our ICP the hypothesis or it's confirmed by data?
Confirming.
Because one of the biggest mistakes I saw that many companies and people define ICP by win rates, but win rates, like from
Correct.
my perspective,
Conversion win rates. Yes.
yeah, but from my perspective, win rate is a secondary parameter. Primary parameter is net dollar retention. Because if you're able to optimize all your go to market, just imagine that for net dollar retention, it will make much bigger impact on your business comparing to optimizing your business model just for win rates, because you don't know nothing after that. If you win a company with $2,000 retention and $10,000 retention, it's very different things.
So, Ivan, I can see a challenge to a lot of people out there because a lot of people have got used to a model whereby they simply automate, they simply throw more into the engine, and the more comes out, and they say it's more shit, but it's still some of it is sticking. So they're hoping that more will stick. Now, I have a question for you. If we were to look at the work that you do, my suspicion is that people are not spending a lot of time on the ICP definition itself. How do you, from a servicing point of view, even before you actually get to looking at data and stuff, what are the core principles that you look at in terms of defining an ICP, setting it up, and then making sure that we first have that logic? Is there a formula? Is there a structure? Is there a professional services methodology you use that you could you elaborate on that? Hopefully, it's not proper,
Yes,
not
yes.
hidden.
Because we are startup by ourselves, and for us it's important to find product market fit and help other companies to find product market fit.
Yeah.
And sometimes finding like your ICP and then your messaging and channels is what make what separate you current from your product market
From
fit.
your
Yeah.
yeah.
So from that perspective, if you don't have that yet, you need to have an ICP hypothesis. And then, like with every type of A/B testing, you need to experiment with different ICPs, but experiment with connection to data. But I just want
So
one,
that you have a real-time feedback loop of some
yeah,
sort.
yeah. But Deepak, just probably one question for this session to you, because
Yes.
I believe you did see a lot of different CRMs from different companies. How many of them have just two additional fields in their CRM and ability to compare companies with by those two fields? Is this company is an what type of ICP and what is ICP score? How many
So for
out of
me,
100?
out of 400 what? 400 companies or 400 fields?
Out of, let's say, 100 CRMs, because I know you
Yeah.
saw
I've
100
seen tons
CRMs.
of CRMs, and my biggest problem with CRMs is that there's a lot of subjectivity which cannot be objectified in a system,
Mhm.
right? Now, it's the same thing. Let's if you look at a deal, and this is very very critical. My biggest frustration with CRM systems was that CRM systems look at a deal from the point of view of how you look at a deal. You are in sales stage one, and for sales stage one, therefore you need to have the following evidence that a customer has A, customers asked B, and you are at this stage.
Mhm.
Now, the reality is that most CRMs don't look at it from a customer's point of view. You are looking at it from your point of view. So, therefore, the fields you want to see are the ones that satisfy your pipeline and your managerial oversight. It doesn't help in understanding what's happening with a customer point of view. So, one of the classic things that I have noticed is that for me to make sense of CRM, I actually had to ask a salesperson more questions which were not in the CRM. The first question I'd ask him is that has the customer confirmed that they have a budget and has he shared with you the exact size of that budget? In sales stage one, CRM says that comes up early. Not true. Many times customers want to know first and we'll discuss the budget later because the budget can be changed. They may have multiple projects that they can steal budget from. Therefore, the budget question cannot become a qualifier for the ICP. So now you need to, so this is missing information. CRMs typically will ask for more information based on where you are in a sales stage. But a good salesperson typically wants to ask that question very early so that in sales stage one itself, he's getting all this information or metrics that would have been asked in sales stage two, three, four, five, six. So the sixth stage is where they would say, you are at a point where you're about to receive a purchase order. And you will actually realize that at that point we're still discussing budget, because the customer wants the solution but now wants to figure out how to. So the budget question could be, I can't afford $2 million today, but I can afford $2 million over 2 years. So then it becomes a cash flow discussion. And your
Yeah.
ICP definition has substantially changed, because ICP definition is, I sell to a company that has existing product and I want to replace it. The problem is that they want to leapfrog the competition. Leapfrogging is missing in this entire analysis, Ivan. No CRM actually says, where is the customer today in terms of technological architecture? What is the stated ideal state? And is that ideal state higher than what it is today? Therefore, they should be willing to pay more because they get more value. There's no discussion on that value proposition also. Now, I'm going way into too much detail, but in the interest of time, we're at the 45-minute mark. What I want to do, Ivan, is that I wanted to start wrapping up and ask you a couple of simple questions, right? Which is, one is, what is your ideal customer that you like to reach out to through this message? Who should pick up a phone and say, let me speak to Ivan and understand Unstuck Engine? Who is your ideal customer? That's
Uh,
your question to you. Who is your ideal customer?
yeah.
Is it a high tech guy? Is it a SaaS company? Who should call you?
Actually, we are much more focused on SaaS and services. We found little success so far with hardware companies, but I just think that they just move a little bit slower.
Slower.
And but the way how we divide our ICP, we have, I said, four ICPs: do it yourself, inbound, outbound, and account-based marketing. Because for those four, we they use different parts of our platform. They have very different value from us, because inbound, they uncover dark funnel for them. Outbound can multiply return on investment from their outbound campaigns, and also to make, because outbound not only emails, like cold calls is
Is
outbound.
also, yeah,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
but you can make warm calls as well. Imagine you have
correct. Because you
just different
personalize, yeah.
for warm calls. It's changed a lot by itself. And
You know what's really interesting, Ivan, is that I'm an ex-sales guy, and when I became an entrepreneur, I now realize that what I used to call cold call was actually not a cold call. When I used to call a customer and I would say to them, "Hi, I'm calling from HP. This is Deepak." The word HP itself made the cold call into a warm call because everyone knew who HP was. So I now come and I now call people and say, "Hi, this is Deepak from Jabulani Consulting." And the first question is, "Sorry, what? Who? Where? Where did you get my number from? Don't call me now. Don't ever call me again." And that's when I said to my wife that, oh my gosh, I now realize that I'm really cold calling for the first time, the most difficult way. And I think this is something that people misunderstand about cold calling, right? We are now so focused on cold calling in terms of artificially. So, people tell me you need to personalize and give context. So I see you're hiring in that office, and this is how we speed up onboarding for you. So that's what the context is, and that looking for. People are now, unfortunately, using LinkedIn as a way, I want to force personalization, right, into a conversation. I've been on cold calls where this is what they tell me. I see you live in Spring. I believe that there's a awesome Perry's Steakhouse. Have you eaten there, Deepak? So I asked the question, have you eaten there? And he says, no. I said, then if I've eaten there, how will that help this conversation? You're looking for commonality, but there is nothing common between your experience and mine, and that's commonality. You're looking for association, which is wrong. And this is the biggest problem that I'm facing. Now, I have a simple question. If you were to call out the single biggest mistake that people are doing with ICP definition, what would that single big mistake be that you wish everyone would stop doing?
making this ICP out of looking at others. Because in this case, you stop differentiating yourself. You start being a commodity. Then you become a commodity in the sense.
Because you are comparing with
Yes.
okay.
Like, because you're trying to steal ICP. Like, I want ICP like
Oh,
those.
I want to steal from here,
Yeah,
therefore,
yeah.
okay.
Then I want to steal their messaging, their channels, and then I become a copy of them. And when you become a copy of someone, then you become a commodity. You create a commodity in that market. Efficiency for all players going down, because, the biggest point everywhere is differentiation. So like when you start making your ICP, and we have a good help center on this, really good, with a lot of articles about that. You really need to start from first principles and base it on your experience, on your conversations with customers. This is where you need to create, like, start to create your ICP,
Own ICP.
and think like, and when this is like your first ICP, think about this as a hypothesis you want to prove. And
That's a very
mm,
good point. That's a very
yeah,
powerful point.
yeah, and like my questions before to you: how many CRMs you see ICP score within CRM? Add those ICP scoring and ACP
And see,
parameters into
uh,
CRM to enable yourself to compare all those things by data. Because you need to do somewhere this, like somewhere where your revenue data live. You can do also this in accounting system, but I don't
yeah,
think
you,
the
but it,
financial finances will be happy about those things.
so Ivan, we know that SaaS companies are your sweet spot. We also understand that you are always challenging people with a very simple reality. When you try to start looking at your competition's ICP and modeling yourself behind them, you're creating a limiting model for yourself. You need to be very clear as to what you do and who you serve, and then reverse engineer to find out where are those people that you are supposed to be serving. And then you use specific criteria to make sure that the people that you're pulling in, and I like the hypothesis based approach. I mean, what we simply state is that we start from a basis of not knowing the truth, but we have a hypothesis. And now our job is, even if we prove ourselves wrong, let us make sure we prove ourselves wrong, because self correction and course correction is the right way to optimize the solution. Is that the right interpretation?
I want a more positive interpretation. There
Aha,
is
go ahead.
no way of being wrong with your hypothesis, because uh, you always have a very important result when you finish an experiment. You have an insight, and
You're right.
you can use
Even
insight.
if you have failed to confirm or verify, you still have a data point which still improves your understanding. I do not disagree with that. I would agree with that. So, Ivan, uh, B2B sellers on this call, if they were looking for you, where would they find you and how do we find you?
They find us via outbound and inbound. Like, because if I
No,
ask,
Ivan, I'm asking people, this is my last question to you.
yeah, yeah.
How do people reach out to you? I know I can find you on LinkedIn.
Uh,
How do we reach out to you? I would need you share some
People can
information.
find me on LinkedIn. This is very, very simple. Just
Yes,
send me a direct message, and that's it.
and I'll be there.
Just tell me that you met me on Dr. Deepak Butra podcast,
Yes,
and
and
that's
you
it.
get a discount, and
Yes,
Dr. Bhutra, the Indian guy, is very happy when he hears word discount. So
yeah,
Ivan, I do know that you are also you blog. You have a website which is unstuckengine.com, right? And there, I think there's a variety of information that you have where people can actually come in to taste and understand. So I want to call that out to the team. When we release the podcast, Ivan, I will be tagging you, and I will also provide
mhm,
your LinkedIn profile details. I'll also provide the URL for Unstuck Engine. If there's any other information that you want to make sure that I include, please feel free to send it through to me, and I will include it into the packaging.
okay.
My goal would be to try to get this conversation summarized in a very structured way, because for you and I, we are subject matter experts and we have a certain flow. Sometimes the listeners or B2B sellers may not relate to it, so I will be taking some liberties of putting in intros and stuff, and I may need you to also kind of help me there to make sure that people get a podcast, but they also get something in writing, 900 words or 1,000 words, that actually explain a summary. Because today people will always complain, I don't have 55 minutes to listen to you and Mr. Kovpak. Tell me, Deepak, a summary. Well, sir, I have a summary also for you. You can read it there. And if you really want to get deep dive into it, Ivan is on LinkedIn and he has white papers and other information and blogs that you can reach out to. Ivan, sir, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to say goodbye at this stage. We know where to find you. We and to honest, my B2B sellers really need to understand one very simple thing. The way you used to sell previously, right, in terms of just getting a list and then picking up a phone and calling people like crazy. Today, as your cold calling numbers fall precipitously, right, I mean, you previously people used to tell me I used to call 20 people and I would get six people picking up the call. Today I have to call 100 numbers and only six pick up. That ratio has changed. And to me, people need to understand the mechanics of the game are against you. And that is why you need to speak to Ivan, because he can give you some intelligent guidance that makes the mechanics come back into your favor. And I think a lot of people have not understood that. People are looking at sheer brute force to do the work, and sheer brute force cannot help you. Not in an age of AI where the very person that you're applying brute force on is also using AI to counter you. Many times, new buyers, Ivan, they know far better than I know about my product because of thanks to AI and the way that people are doing the investigations also. But Ivan, thank you very much for your time, sir. I'm going to bid goodbye, and
Yes,
hopefully, I'll have this podcast out for everyone by mid next week.
sure. And we will be in touch, Deepak. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.